We are in Telephone, Texas, and today is August the 14th, 2007, and my name is Gregory Hall, and I am in the home of Mrs. Gladys McCraw with two of her friends. And we'll start with her, and she can introduce her friends on either side of her.
This is Catherine Keaton, my friend, and this is Ruth Scrivner, my friend.
Ruth, were you born here in this part of the country?
I was born at Duplex,
Just up the hill from Tulip.
That's right.
My mother and daddy my daddy was George Rice, and he was come here from Mississippi, Missouri, somewhere. Anyway, he come here in a covered wagon, and was born in Savoy. And I've always felt sorry for his mother, making that long trip and then having him in Savoy.
Now, about what year was that? Do you have any recollection of
I
the
was like
year?
Catherine. I didn't bring the dates of my parents.
Right. But your birthday was
May the 22nd, 1923.
1923. So I would imagine you ladies have known each other pretty much all your lives then.
Long time.
And Miss Scribner, where did you go to school?
Well, I started school at Tulip, but when I went, they had 3 rooms, and I went. I went to the 7th, and then they bused us to Bonham, and I went through junior high and married her foster brother. One thing that Catherine omitted, she was this certain play I was thinking about that impressed me. She was the leading lady, and she was pretty and did the part well.
No, I'm not thinking about that.
Well, I'm telling it, you're not. And then another thing I remember about it, when we gathered there, they usually, sometimes, I don't know whether it was during the play or not, but there'd be candidates come and make speeches. That was a biggie, and I liked it because it was somewhere to go, and I was younger, but I was permitted to go. I didn't get to go.
You didn't? Well, I did. I'd get to go. What would you call that? Oral adoption. He was what I call my foster brother, Bill Scrivner. That's just the way it was. And tell about the one at Elwood, Ruth.
Well, when Bill and I married, I went to church in a schoolhouse with just very few.
Elwood School.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time went on, they bought part of the school, and they first moved the old church up there in town, close to the store, and it was community. And then we had some revivals, and they had one at Tulip, and there's really a good preacher there. Isn't it Royce Simpson?
Who?
Royce Simpson.
Oh,
Remember?
yes.
And as a young married woman and interested, I was always interested in the Lord. And I went up there and heard him, and I don't know how it all happened now, but anyway, he held a revival at Elwood. And
Miss Scribner, you mentioned that you married in the church at Elwood.
no, I didn't marry in the church. We eloped.
All right. Do you remember that evening or that day?
Yes, very clearly. We went across the river and married in Yuba. And just Bill and I. The preacher's wife was a witness, and then they called in somebody else. And we tied the knot, and it sure did stay tied.
So, had you been thinking about this for some time before you...
Well, yes, but I don't remember the time span, but and I don't. We just knew that was going to be it because we both wanted the same thing. We wanted each other in a home.
And you thought it would have been a surprise to your parents or something?
Yeah, it was sort of a surprise to them, but they didn't. They accepted it.
So you came back home after a while?
That was at Tulip, and Bill and I moved to Elwood. And believe you me, that was a long ways from my mama.
Miss Scrivner, do you remember anything about the REA in particular?
Well, yes, I remember how thankful we were to get lights, to just have in every room we could have a bulb and a string, and we could have light. And that was a miracle. We just really enjoyed that. And then, of course, all these other things come along. We got irons that you could. I remember your mother gave me one that was a gas iron, and that was really something too, but not near like the electric.
Well, Catherine, what did you think about it when Bill ran off and eloped?
Of course, I approved. That's wonderful. Everybody loved Ruth, and my mother schooled her on what Bill liked to eat and how he liked it. He couldn't have had a mother any more protective over him and guarded over him and wanted everything just like her son. And
she did.
And Ruth took it real well. She
I wanted to please him.
So how old were you when you married?
17.
17, yes.
But see, Mother thought she had to tell Ruth how Bill liked everything. And
I was glad to hear it. I love Miss Amy. She is a precious lady, and she did so many.
she didn't mean it bad. She just wanted Bill to have the things. Of course, we didn't have when they married. When they married, we didn't have anything. Our old house was just what I call a barn, and my bedroom is the North Pole and everything. And that's what we call it. It was a very loose old house, freezed to death, and we didn't have any luxuries or anything. But we did have. She cooked good, and she wanted Bill to have the kind of good food he'd had and everything, and she instructed Ruth how to and
make him happy.
We laugh about that now, how well Ruth took it.
Yes.
But Mother meant it really.
She didn't
In the heart, she was not trying to run over her or anything.
No, she was sweet.
But see, Ruth, a lot of women would have really taken that wrong, but Ruth didn't. She just complied to everything, all of Mother's requests about trying to please Bill.
Well, she did some things for me too. When I'd go visit, I'd always look at her magazines. She liked to read too. And then she ordered the Ladies' Home Journal. She subscribed that for me. And the Reader's Digest. And I still read the Reader's Digest. And she did a lot of things for me too. She was sweet, good.
I think you said one time that your husband enjoyed being a cowboy.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me what that meant to him?
Well, it just about meant everything. That was his life. He did that when he was at home. That was part of his job, wasn't it, Catherine?
He was Daddy's right-hand cowboy. And of course, he learned that from a child. Taking care of, what old Daddy left him responsible for everything. When he'd be on his trading trips, he had to, it couldn't make a living doing just what he did. He had to be on the road all the time buying and selling and trading and all, and he left Bill in charge of everything. And he trusted Bill. Well, he taught him what to do and how to manage everything, and he was just Bill's boy.
And he had his favorite horse.
Oh, yeah. Catherine tell you about the horses. I I never was a cowgirl. If I disappointed Bill in any way, it was not being a cowgirl. I just didn't work out.
We are in the home of Ruth Scrivner in the Elwood community. It's August the 23rd, 2007, and with her is a friend whose name is
Morris Westbrook.
who has lived in the Elwood community also for many years. We were starting to talk about memories of Ruth's husband, Bill Scrivner. And I was going to ask you, Ruth, what year did you marry?
But I think it was 1941, 40 or 41. I was 17.
Now, by that time, Irwin Smith was already deceased, I think. Do you
No.
remember him in relation to Bill?
Oh, yes, I do. He talked about him a lot because he liked him a lot. And I remember when he lived in a house over across the way. I don't even know where it was, but Bill would take me over there when he went to see about stock or something. And he took me up in the attic of the old barn, and there was Irwin Smith's. He had his whole self. And what do they do when they make them? When they mold them and make them?
A statue?
Mm-hmm. Of himself, and it was just like him.
Was it out of wood?
No, it was out of marble, or not marble, but
Plaster of some
plaster of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned, was that before when Irwin was still alive that you visited the barn?
Well, that's the part I cannot remember. Catherine was here; she could remember exactly, but for some reason or other, the Lord didn't give me too good a memory. I'm gonna blame it on him. But I felt like I knew him because Bill had such respect for him, and he was a good friend of Bill's. And when Bill was just I guess 18 or 19 is when that picture was up there was made. Irwin Smith, made that picture, and he invited Bill to go with him to West Texas. That's when they had a lot of cattle ranches and
The Gibbs did.
no, the out in West Texas. It's where he
Yes.
wanted Bill to go with him because he went out there and took pictures and wrote stories about the West out there. But Bill at that age didn't want to leave his connections here, so he didn't go with him. But he always really liked Irwin Smith because he had been good to Bill.
Now, when you said you visited the barn and saw the statue there, would that have been a location around here in Elwood, or do you remember?
No, not in Elwood. It was over.
Maybe
I
toward
know
Tulip?
No, it was over toward Lamasco or somewhere over in there. They had a home place there, and I think his mother maybe lived there with him some, or that was anyway. It was their home. But Bill showed me barrels that was out there, I guess in the barn, best I remember, of spurs and things that Irwin had collected through the years. I don't know what ever become of them, but Bill didn't take them. It just amazed me at the pace this man lived and how much he put into his one lifetime.
When did you start to become aware of his photographs?
Oh, I don't know. Now Miss Gibbs gave me this one of Bill when Bill and I married, and she told me, who did it. Now Catherine, she was living in Lubbock, I think, at the time Miss Gibbs gave me the pictures, and she gave me that one. That was the only one she gave me that Irwin Smith made of him. But I know exactly where this was made. And you know where Dooley and Jan did live before they moved to the mansion up on the hill.
Oh, yeah.
It was right across there. And there was a man by the name of Wayman Johnson. He is some kind of law official. I don't think he was the sheriff, but he was well respected, and he had land there. And you know, he had a roping pen, and there was a family lived there that kept things going for him. But he had more land around it where he had cattle, and that's where this picture was taken. And that was at Tulip, you know, nearly Elwood. It was a whole different world. We didn't have our good roads then. We had roads, but they got awful muddy sometime and almost impassable.
Do you have a sense of how old Bill would have been about that time in that photograph?
I think he was 19.
Well, he was quite a rodeo man, wasn't he?
Erwin Smith?
Bill.
Bill. Oh, yeah, he loved. And I write better than I talk. I've got out several stories that I thought you might be interested in.
Of course.
But I just do. I don't know why when I get that pen in my hand, words come to me.
You do right well.
You think I do?
Yes, you do.
So, when did you start knowing Bill?
Bill? Oh, I don't know. I was just a kid.
He's been your life always, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I was born right across the road from the church up here. And I would guess I was here when you guys married. I don't know.
Oh, yes, you were.
But I
I've
didn't.
known you all for a long time.
Oh, yeah. He was a good man.
Mm-hmm.
He helped my mother when I moved away, moved to Garland. Well, I went in the Army. And I was in the Army and then I moved to Garland. He helped my mother when she was down here by herself. She'd still try to raise some cows, and he would take those cows to sale barn for her and help her. Loaned me his horse one time. We had a place up here where the home place was. We had some more acreage down here, and we'd take those cows back and forth. We'd take them down here in this bigger pasture, then bring them back to the house in the wintertime where we could feed them. He loaned me, this after my dad died, and he loaned me his horse one time to bring those cows back to the home place. And we're all walking along behind those cows just real gently, no problems. And one of those cows turned and broke to go the other way. I was sitting on that horse, took off. I didn't know what that horse was going to do. He took off after that cow. When he caught up with that cow, got in front of that cow and planted those front feet and threw my stomach into that saddle horn and like to kill me. and Bill knew that horse would do that, and he didn't tell me a thing about it. He knew I didn't know how to ride a horse.
Sonny think nothing about it. He did the same thing with me.
He did. Yeah, he was quite a guy.
Well, did you say he did rodeoing as well?
Oh, yeah. He did a lot of rodeoing. I don't know what he do. Just
He
bronc riding or bull?
No, he was a roper.
He was a roper.
That's what he did. That's what he liked.
Yeah.
He might have, and he really didn't participate in anything but roping. That was just his thing to do.
I didn't know because I moved away from here in 45. But I do remember one thing, after he got older, he wasn't able to do much. He'd hang that saddle up in the barn out here, and he knew how to train horses, and he trained them good. He didn't train like most people do. You like a horse whisperer? That's kind of like Bill Scrivner was.
I agree.
And he'd hang that saddle up out here in the barn, in that shed, and he'd get ready to go. That horse would come out and walk under that saddle. He'd drop that saddle down on that horse. And that's the way he saddled that horse. He kept that saddle hanging out there all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And he'd get it and he'd ride that horse every day.
Mm-hmm. Long as he could at all, and he.
Yeah.
And this is his last trip.
He never did. He didn't get on them until they were ready to ride.
Mm-hmm.
But did he train them or?
Oh yeah, did he ever? Yeah, people come from the Midwest down here to buy horses from him, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when he got on a horse to ride him, that horse was already gentle. He never bucked. get on that horse and ride him off. And that's why he trained the horse.
So I suppose the term breaking a horse was not something he did.
No.
Well, that's a description of it, but there's a lot of different ways to break a horse, isn't that
No.
right, Sonny?
He didn't get on and let him jump and broke. When he got on there, already broke.
I'll say.
He'd lead. I'd see him going down there around pasture on that fence row. He'd be leading one. He'd ride one. He'd lead one up down that pasture
Mm-hmm.
for days before he ever got on it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're right.
Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he train horses for other people around here, or was it mainly just for
I don't know
himself?
about that. I just
Yeah.
know that he told me one time he had some people come from Colorado down here to buy horses that he had trained.
Yeah, he would train them, and if somebody come along that give him the right price. Now, he never sold his horse. He had one horse that nobody else rode. They weren't allowed to ride it, and he would never sell his horse. But the others that he had trained, he would sell them. But that wasn't his main hobby, or what's another word for it?
Did that horse have a name?
Well, he had more than one horse through his lifetime, but I think one of them was Old Bud, and I don't even remember all of them's names.
I mean the favorite one, but maybe you
well,
don't remember.
he wore out more than one horse.
In the early days, he was working for Mr. Dennis Gibbs, I think, to help with the management of cows on that place. Did he continue to do that kind of work for other people?
No.
Cowboy type work for other people?
Well, just in extreme instances where if it was something that he was really needed, then he did. But, he went to Mr. Gibbs's as a little boy.
Yes.
And they took him in, and he that was his home. And Mr. Gibbs was really the only dad he would have ever known, because his died when he was 4 years old. So that was home to him, and they were good to him. But now Mr. Gibbs, he and Mr. Gibbs, they worked together. I mean, Mr. Gibbs could trust Bill to do whatever he asked him to do. And Bill loved doing it, because it was really riding the pastures and seeing about the cattle, and that was what Bill liked to do best of all.
Do you recall the year he was born?
Bill?
Yes.
19 and 13, I believe is right. And Mr. Gibbs and Miss Gibbs was as good to us as could be. They helped us they gave us this land that the house is on, and 160 acres, and then he helped us build our first home. And I love to tell this because it's really personal. He bought our front door that you come in. Mr. Gibbs bought that himself and brought it out here for our home. And he done a lot of personal things that just...
Like he would have done for a son.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And Miss Gibbs was just equally as good. She was so good to us, and we loved her dearly.
Well, you told Hal when you came home, having been married, that Mrs. Gibbs wanted you to treat Bill just as he'd been treated in her home.
That Catherine was telling that one.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she didn't do it. I mean, she did it in a way that I didn't resent it at all. Of course, I was so madly in love with Bill that anything she could have told me that would have made him happier, I would have wanted to done it. But she got around to telling me how he liked certain things done. And of course, I appreciated it. I didn't mind at all.
When did you first become aware of him? Was it in school or through community activities or something of that sort?
No, it wasn't. It was I knew who he was. He was very well known by male and female, and he was the cowboy, and of course he always had a way to go too, and I met him at a party that was for my age, and he and 3 others crashed the party, and we was playing this game that Catherine was talking about, knocking for love, and he knocked my number, and he took me home that night, and that was just the beginning. I think I must have fell in love that night, but I had to grow up some.
Was that a party around here in Elwood somewhere, or in
No,
Tulip?
it was at Tulip. We
Mhm.
were all living at Tulip then, and it was Mr. Gibbs's brother's house, Russell Gibbs, and they had kids. They had a girl my age, and we had parties at whose ever house they'd let us. And it happened to be at Russell Gibbs's house that night. Yes, I remember it vividly. One of my good memories, and I wouldn't take for my good memories. I have a lot of them. So I'm a happy old woman.
That's evident.
And she's a good old woman, I can tell you that. One of the best neighbors we ever had.
You can't believe everything you hear.
You can believe that.
Well, one of the things, of course, that we know about you is that you are a good writer, and presumably you've enjoyed writing.
I have
All
thoroughly
these years.
enjoyed it. And I've looked back and read some of the things I've written and wondered if my children wasn't really embarrassed because I told the facts. But I didn't ever get any complaints from them. They didn't. They were nice enough not to say anything.
Did you start writing as early as high school, or was it after you married that you started writing?
Well, it was after I married, and some years after I married that I started writing, and I did it because it was my outlet. It was I felt good when I was writing, and I knew that I had these things that I wanted down on paper. And the first story I ever took to the Bonham Daily Favorite, I was scared to death when I walked in and asked them if they would they print it. They were doing something along that line, and they accepted it and printed it. And then later, not too long later, one of the first really long stories I wrote was about the Hopper store.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it to the paper, and they first wouldn't print it because it was too long. And I didn't know this till lately, but Catherine got on the phone or some way, and she told them they better put that in the paper because that was good stuff and people wanted to hear it. So they printed it. And then, I don't know how much later that and I don't know who the editor was then, or the one over the Daily Favorite, but he called me in his office, and he told me of this place, and I think it's Mount Pleasant, that were accepting stories to go in books. And so he said they was wanting stories about old stores, and he thought that they would accept this. And sure enough, they did, and they printed it, and I bought several books, and I gave the Hoppers one because I'd got a lot of information from them, and of course I gave my kids all one, and then when Lillian went to the nursing home
Mm-hmm.
in Bonham, somebody stole her book. She had a room to herself,
Mm-hmm.
and just a coffee table, and had it laid out there, and somebody took it.
Do you recall about what year? Are we talking about mid 50s, early 50s. When did you start writing in that sense?
Well, that was one of the first ones I really wrote that was published, but I don't remember.
Do you still have a copy of it?
I do, but I don't know where it is. I don't know where my book is that has it in it. But I had a copy out here that I thought you might want to read.
Well, the reason I'm saying is that I've come upon a picture of the store at Elwood back in the days of its prime operation. So it would be wonderful to put your story alongside that photograph.
Well, I have that picture. I have a picture of it in this book, but I don't know where my book is.
Was there several men standing on the porch?
Mm-hmm.
I've got that picture, and I would like to know one of those men there. I think is my dad, but I'm not sure.
Well, it could be.
But I want to ask you something about that. Between the store and the church, and where the church is now, there used to, back when I was a kid, there was a huge post in the ground there.
Mm-hmm.
What was that used for? Do you know?
I did it one time, but my memory's not worth a hoot now.
I was told, I think when I was a kid, that was somehow connected to liquor or beer that they made.
It could have been.
That post, as I recall, was that big around, and it was just out there by itself. Nothing
Well,
else.
see if Bill was here, he'd tell us, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Or your mom
I
and
sure
dad.
would like to know what that was for.
Well, I think I've been told, but I just cannot recollect now. And that's why I'm so glad that I did catch some of these stories earlier when they were new to me and get the real facts, because I couldn't do it now. I don't have that kind of memory, but I did catch a lot of stories that are the real thing, and I got some out today, but just stories of. I've got one there with a picture of him. I think Cowboy Savvy. Have you got that one? I didn't know whether the paper. It was in the Bonham Daily Favorite. I never took anything to him. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm not a bragger, and you all know that. But I never did take a story to them that they refused to print. And I appreciate it. And I always ask them not to change it. Print it like I wrote it. Because I felt like if they dressed it up or dressed it down, it wouldn't be mine. So what you read and what you'll see is actually what I wrote and what happened, because I stuck to facts, things that I knew. And this one about the store, I got some of the information from Miss Lillian Hopper. She was the last one of the Hoppers of that family that lived. And so I feel like some of that is, of value, because I can't tell you dates and names now, but it's down there. And I do have a paper laying there somewhere with Bill's picture on.
Now, in those early stories, were you telling events that you knew, actual historical events that had occurred, or were they imaginary? Were there ever imaginary stories?
Nothing imaginary. It was just only what I knew as a fact.
And most of your writing has been factual in that sense.
They're factual. No, I never wrote fairy tales.
Were there times when you realized that you were describing actual persons in terms of their character, or was it more a line of events and stories in that sense?
Well, I think it was more events. Now, I wrote personal things about Bill because I knew him, and he was my cowboy. And I did write, personal things about him. And some of them. I tried to put a little humor in all of them.
At one point, you said that you did start to write stories that portrayed his experiences or things that he had told you. You have stories then of that sort.
I do. I haven't kept a good record of them or nothing else. I have told my daughters since I've got to this age, and we never know. I said, now don't throw my junk away. Some things I've just written maybe a few lines on and stashed them. I said, just put them upstairs in your attic, and maybe one of the ancestors will want to be interested in it.
Do you recall one of his stories that you told in particular that may have stuck in your memory?
Well, most of them is some that I've got recorded, and when I read them, that I just relive them, and it just feels good because I really love that man, and he was, like Sonny said, he was a good, honest man, and he did care about his mother at the time he's talking about. I think was a widow, or she was at one time, part of the time, and he always was careful to help anybody in need, but especially women that needed help. And I've known of him. And Mike Mosley, the son-in-law, says he remembers when somebody come by and needed help, if they, no matter what they was doing, he was saying it as an irritation to him, because they'd be working real hard on something, and somebody come by and need Bill, he'd take off to go help them, and just leave his project for later, you know.
My mother tried to pay him for taking those cattle to the sale barn. As far as I know, he never took a
No,
dime.
he wouldn't have.
Never took a dime.
You had children.
I had three. My oldest son was 10 years old when the girls came along, and he got killed in a car wreck when he was 20. And I have two daughters, and Harold up here, you know Harold.
Yes.
He's good to me too. He lived in and out of our home from the time he was 10 on.
Harold did.
But he lived in the Corsicana State Orphanage, and at the time we didn't know better. I thought he would had so many more advantages there than we could give him if we took him in our home, because at that time we were living on borrowed money, and Bill never let us feel it. But that's the way he operated. Mr. Gibbs introduced him to the Bono State Bank, and he could go in there and borrow any amount of money he wanted to, and he'd borrow to buy cows, you know, to make money, and it worked. And so I thought Harold would have more advantages at the home, because they saw that they could go to school, and even assured them at that time of some college education.
How did you happen to settle upon Harold, though, as an individual?
Well, we didn't. He settled on us. As Sonny knows, we always had people in and out, and we had a girl that lived in Dallas, and her mother was a friend of Louise Ruse. You remember Louise?
Oh, yeah.
And so Mary Margaret went to work at the Corsicana State Home. She was a room mother. So she calls us and asks, is it all right if I bring some boys down for the weekend? Oh, sure, bring them on. Well, she come down here with a whole load of little boys, all sizes, ages, and colors. And we bedded them down and had a big time, I guess. And Harold just latched on to Bill. And he just, that was just it. So from then on, we every holiday, every time he could get a day off, we sent him money to come on. And he come down here and spent all summers. and he made good friends while he was here. And then, but to back up a little bit, after when we first got Harold, then Miss Bentley and Mary Lou, that's really good, sweet people in our neighborhood. They asked me if I knew of a little boy that they could have for Christmas, that they didn't have any children or grandchildren, so they were wanting a little boy to buy toys for and to entertain for Christmas. Well, Harold had a little 3-year-old brother in the Corsicana State Home, so that just fit the bill. So we just asked for Steve, who still lives up there next door to me, and he come down as a 3-year-old. That was the youngest one they'd ever taken in. But there's 3 brothers. There's Harold, Steve, and James. And James, we got him, but Mary Lou and them had a good Christmas with Steve, and they all fell in love. And that was just an ongoing thing, but they didn't adopt him either. But as soon as he was out of high school, I think, he come to live with them, and he was, that's been years ago, and he's still with Mary Lou, or he lives next door to her. He's married now, built him a house next door to her. So that's been a good story. And then James, I got him a place to stay on special occasions with one of our preachers here at Elwood that was here at that time. And he went to their house likewise, but then they got a church further away, like, I don't know where it was now, whether it's Louisiana or where, but they moved further away, so that ended that. And James stayed in the home till he was eligible to leave, and Mary Lou has been, I mean, she's the one that just took the place of a grandparent, all of them, and she claims them all.
Did Harold come to live with you all, or did he go back and forth between
He went
here
back and forth.
Back and forth.
Now, he lived with us part of the time after he got out, but he married too soon against my advice, but he wouldn't listen to me. We've heard that story many times, haven't we? And he went into the service as a Marine and married and had several children. And then when he come home, he went into the, worked on oil rigs, you know, like go out and stay so many days or a week or something, or weeks at a time. And when he come home one time, his wife had found somebody else. So
Did he ever get to work with Bill with the horses? Or
no, he didn't. He was at that time. He got, when he come in the summer, he and another boy, Kathy's brother David, they got interested in the lake at Lake Fannin, and they were lifeguards, and you know, stuff like that he had went in that direction by then. So no, he never did really take up with the horse business, and Bill was getting older too. And anyway, it's all worked out. Everybody's happy.
Well, Ruth, didn't you and Bill take in several kids and then live with you for a while and leave in and out?
Mm-hmm.
That thing?
Do you suppose Bill was remembering that he had been taken in by a family,
Mm-hmm.
and he was wanting to do something like that?
Now I felt that he did. One time, you know, I don't know when it was. I said, "Bill, don't you think we've done paid for that enough?" He brought him in, you know.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I never knew.
There should be more people like you. That's all I have to say.
Well, we had quite a few people, boys, young boys, and mostly boys. They come.
What year did he pass away?
Say, what year was it? He's been gone. This is going on 4 years, so I don't have 4 from whatever. about, what?
2003.
Hmm. But his health has gotten real bad, and his mind had too. And
But you were able to take care of him in those last years.
Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of quality time, even in the condition he was in. He liked to get out and ride, so we drove around somewhere every day about it. And we went to Honey Grove and eat lunch, and we'd go by the coffee mill and over in there, and of course I could take him back probably to the same place and it'd be all right because he didn't remember. And but we had a lot of good times. Sometimes we'd go by the the Ivanhoe store and we'd get us a hamburger and chips and drinks, and we'd go over to the coffee mill and sit there by the lake and watch the birds or whatever was in season. If it was squirrels or whatever, we enjoyed just being there looking out over the water. And so that's why I'm telling you, we had a lot of quality time, even though he was in the condition he is in. And if the girls was here, they'd tell you a little different story, but they're not here, so I get to tell it my way. There was times when he...
Who was that man that was always coming down here so much? That to see Bill, and they would go take a trip up to Oklahoma somewhere for something with cows?
Yeah. I think that's Wayne Titsworth that used to come here a lot. He and his boys too. And they would go, they went up in Oklahoma, and then they took him to a rodeo.
Yeah, they went to a rodeo somewhere.
And then one time, Bill had a good friend that he grew up with, Buster Curry. And years ago, it got really bad times here, and a lot of the people, the young men, went up north to work in the mines or whatever, and Bus stayed in Idaho, and they were as close as brothers could ever be, and so Bill flew up there. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to fly. Anyway, I'm a homebody, and he flew up there and visited with Bus, and then later, when Bill was already, was ready to, I guess, kind of retire, and Catherine and Bill and I went to Idaho and had a good visit with this Buster and his wife, and we saw a lot of the country and went on over into Canada. Bill loved this kind of thing, and we had just a good trip. We saw a lot of places and just enjoyed every bit of it. So I've had a really good life. I haven't missed anything. I miss Bill now, of course. I miss him a lot, but I know where he is. He was a good Christian man, and I know he's with the Lord, and so he's up there waiting for me, I guess.
Do you have any special sense of his presence now at this time of life that's not a part of what you're saying?
No, I don't. When I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, but the Lord knew that it was time to give him up because I was used up, and everybody but me knew it. I didn't really, truly, I didn't know it. Except I got sick. I'm easy to have pneumonia, and I've had it a lot of times, and that's one of my problems now is my lungs. And so I just got to where I couldn't do and for him, and he was sick. So, see, I have a daughter and a granddaughter and then Harold's wife is an RN. And I had 3 nurses here with him, and I just had to rest. I was sick,
Yeah.
and I had pneumonia when I finally got to the doctor, and I was in the doctor's office the day at the very time he died, and the daughter that was here, the nurse Jo, she called Donna, and we got the message when I was in the doctor's office and that he was gone. And of course I didn't expect it. Maybe somebody besides me would have, but I didn't. And I didn't know he was that near gone when I left that morning. He had already got a hospital bed in, and he was on the hospital bed, but I had these nurses all around him, and I knew I was leaving him in good hands, and I went on to the doctor to get some help. I was afraid I was having pneumonia again. And so sure enough, I had pneumonia, and he gave me a shot and said in other circumstances he would put me in the hospital, but you know, I come home and I made it all right. And I have been really surprised myself. I don't mean, and maybe y'all won't understand, but I don't grieve for Bill because Bill was in a bad shape and I couldn't take care of him any longer. And that's all I asked the Lord, just leave me with health enough to take care of Bill as long as Bill needed me. And he kept his part of the bargain, and I went back, tried to bargain with the Lord again. I said, I don't, just do whatever you want to with my old body. But now I'm going to go back and say, Lord, let's do a little repair work here.
Was Bill buried at the Elwood Cemetery?
He's buried at Duplex.
Duplex.
That's where my parents were buried and where my son was buried.
Yes.
And so he's buried up there. And Sonny, have you ever went by and seen the monument the girls put up for him?
No.
I haven't. I just can't. I don't. I want to, but I don't know how I'd react. I'm afraid I just haven't. I will, but I just haven't. But they say that it is really beautiful. In the picture up there of him, you know, the picture, they've got it on the monument, and then the one on the horse there underneath it, right up there, I took that one out here in the front yard years ago, and that's him. And so they've got him on this monument with cattle, and they say it is just unbelievably wonderful, beautiful.
Well, I hadn't heard that. I'll go see it. You want to go with me?
Well, maybe I will.
Well, I reckon we can get ready and we'll go up there.
Everybody that's seen it has just really marveled at it. You know
I haven't
that,
seen it.
and you know Doodle Gibbs.
Yeah.
Of course, he grew up with Bill too.
Yeah,
Bill
right.
took him to sales, and he saw it, and he said that's Bill on that horse, you know, those
Yeah.
cattle. And so they say it's something to really see.
Going back a little further, when you were both younger and he was rodeoing, did you go to the rodeos with him?
Yes, sir, I did for 10 years or more. And then and after I had Donna and Joe, I didn't go no more. I just stayed home and kept the babies, and and I didn't mind for him to go, but I stayed home and with our little ones. Now, I went when Mike was little, and we'd take a pallet and quilt, and that was all right. But then, after he was 10 when Donna was born, And so I started staying home and keeping the babies, and he kept on. Now, they weren't all rodeos. They used to have what they called ropings, and they had them over at Honey Grove. And Bill loved to go over there and rope with those boys. And part of the time it was a rodeo over there, but a lot of time it was just ropings. And that was his thing, and I wanted him to go and enjoy it. He'd load up horses and boys and go.
Did he win any trophies or just prize
No,
money?
he didn't.
Just got prize money?
And just he got more enjoyment than anything. He got such pleasure out of it. He loved horses.
Was your writing ever interrupted during your life, like when you were having children, rearing children? Did you continue to write through that time?
I can't remember. I guess I did some. I guess I've always written because like horses was to Bill and ropings, my writing was to me. It was my way of relaxing and doing what I like to do, I guess. Just record memories. No, and we didn't have any conflict about what I did and liked to do and what he liked to do. I wasn't a horse person. I said if I was ever a disappointment to Bill, I'm sure it was because I didn't take to riding horses. I wrote a story about it, and when I really knew, and it goes along with what Sonny told too. He had a bunch of cow dogs out here in our backyard, and I didn't like that. He's supposed to feed them, but I ended up having to feed them, and a lot of the time, and they barked and they stunk, and I didn't want them cow dogs around. So I decided, and we always had, Sonny knows this, we always had somebody here to help Bill that I had to cook for and take care of, and I'm not really complaining, but at this particular time I thought, well, I believe I'd rather help Bill and get rid of them cow dogs, and I could just make life easier for me. Well, this day I remember as well as yesterday. He said, well, he needed to move some cows from a pasture right out here down to the river. And did I want to help him? And I agreed I would. And I hate to tell part of this, but he had, and he would do these things. Sonny will know. He saddled up the horses, and I led it out there on the highest spot in our yard to mount it. Well, I had a terrible time getting on that horse. It was just pitiful. And I guess I once got on it, and here we go. Well, he took the dogs too. They really did work good. He could work, take cattle. They'd herd them. So here we go. And we went down there to this creek where you go over the creek, to the other side.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very deep or anything. But he goes along in front of me and jumps over the creek just pretty as you please. I said, whoa, that's not for me. So I get off and lead my horse across, and then I had this trouble getting back on. But the biggest problem I had was driving them along, and the dogs was working real good and on their way to this pasture in the bottom. And one calf got it started out, like you said. He got out of the herd, and I wasn't expecting this. Like I went right along with you, because that horse took off. See, he was trained. He just took off and went after that calf to get it back in.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, I held on to that horn, that with all my might, and I stayed on. But I just promised God, if you'll just let me get back home, I'll never do this again, and I won't complain. And I don't think I did, but that was the scariest ride I ever had. That horse knew what to do.
Horse knew what to do. When he got caught up with that cow, he put planted those front feet, didn't he?
Well, did Bill keep the cow dogs after that?
Well, yeah, but he moved them across the road.
Okay.
Right, I'm gonna have to go. I'm enjoying every bit of this.
Oh, I'm so glad you come to see me.
Well, I'm good seeing you.
You was one of the kids too.
Yeah, right. You come see me.
I'd like to read
Okay.
any stories that you could loan me. Of
Well,
course, I'll bring them back.
Yeah.
But is there one that was your favorite? Or I was going to ask you a moment ago, did you ever read any of your stories to Bill? Or did he?
I think I always read them to him. He was in accord with what I wrote.
And he enjoyed them.
Now, he wasn't a man of many words. He didn't say, "Oh, Mama, you did real good," or anything like that. He might not say anything much, but I knew whether he liked them or not. And and like I told you, what you're going to read is how it was. I wrote it as it happened.
Was he always a principal character in your stories, or did that vary from time to
Well,
time?
I've got a lot of stories that I wrote of my family, and they were from Duplex. And I got a lot of that out this morning. And I wrote. I didn't realize it when I was looking through some things, but I'd written quite a bit about my young life and my family.
Now, would that have been your family before you were born, or
Yeah.
their background,
Yeah,
their
part of
history?
it. Mhm.
Yes.
And, well, for instance, I probably might enjoy reading, and this is the one that has the picture. This was my daddy and mother and a little grandson, and Daddy, he wrote in his little scribbly way a little story about Bonham. But now I gave this to the museum, and I don't know whether they ever used it or put it up or anything, but you might find it.
All right. Now, is this George W. Rice was your father?
Copy that I had of the Hopper store, if you want to.
Oh, I would love to read that. So you do have a copy of the Hopper store.
I mean, I didn't have a book.
Oh, that's all right. But we have the text of it here. Did you ever write poetry or other
No,
kinds of literature?
No, I never wrote poetry.
Of Ruth Rice, about 4 years old, and A.J. Baxter.
A.J. Baxter, that's my sister. He's the one that, in the story, I wrote about being so angry with him because he was marrying and taking my sister.
Oh, yes.
Well,
the last of the living.
that shows you our ages and size. See, that's her husband,
Oh,
and that's me.
and that's you, a little girl who is not happy about losing your sister. That's wonderful.
I thought it tells a lot.
It does. And now here's a picture of a young child, Ruth Scrivner, age 6 months. Oh dear, how precious. In West Texas with a doll. Oh, that's wonderful. Curly hair.
When my daddy was a victim of the Depression, and he lost everything to the bank, his crops, all the animals, and so he hadn't enough money to get us to West Texas. And I had a brother out there, and he'd found a place where we could pull bulls. And I don't even remember going. I was that little, but there may be a picture there where what age I was when we went, and then. We stayed out there a number of years, and that's where my sister met and married this man. And I don't remember all the details of course, I've heard a lot of it told, but I think 3 years old when we went in this truck, and I know I was thinking, the trucks weren't very big back then, and they loaded the truck as much as they could get on it, and then Daddy and my brother, I guess my brothers, some of them rode on the back on top of that to Quanah, Texas. And that's a good little drive. And Mama cooked and fixed for us to eat. Now, I've been told this, but she had fixed stuff for us to eat on the way out there. My mother was a good manager. She was.
Did they already know where they were going to live
Yes.
when they left here, but they found a house out there?
Well, no, it was a tent. Well, it was a little shack, 2-room shack. And then they put a tent up behind it for the boys. And me and Mom and Daddy was in the house. And, of course, Mama had a little place to cook. It was just a little shack. And but the thing that I remembered is being happy. And I was secure. I didn't know there's anything else. And I had a good mother and daddy. So, I grew up out there with just very little, but I didn't know there's anything else. And so I just have good memories. I don't have bad memories of what I didn't have.
Were they farming or were they working with cattle out there?
Well, they were just pulling bolts.
Pulling bolts, yes.
And then when they got all the bolts picked, I put part of this together from knowing what. Well, then they would move into Quanah. And then Mama, I know, took in boarders. And Daddy worked in a cafe. And they just eked out a living now. That was about all it was. But again, I don't remember being unhappy. Only when that man come and took my sister. And I was a little upset then, but I'm kid, you get over that overnight. And no, I've had a good life all the way. I don't feel mistreated or lacked anything, because I had a mother and daddy who loved me. And I never went hungry. I don't remember ever going hungry. My mother was she was a whizzing hunt, and they traced that back to Germany. And she was a good manager, and she could, if she had anything at all, she could make something good out of it. And if it wasn't good, I didn't know better. Like I said, that's all I knew. And when we moved into town, I have some memories of Mama working for different people, for whatever. I don't remember what.
Now tell me again your mother's name, because you said she was a Whisenhunt.
Yeah, she was a Lily Whisenhunt, and she was, when we moved back, Mama was anxious to go see Aunt Minerva, and Uncle Bill had died. But we went to Aunt Minerva's because that was Mama's aunt. These sisters had married brothers, so that made her a double cousin, it's the same Whisenhunts that, originated it.
In your thinking about your own writing, is there a piece that you would enjoy reading in your own voice?
Oh, well, I don't have too good a voice, and I don't.
Now, is this something you wrote yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
It's old Jim and the Turpentine.
Okay.
It's just a little funny thing. It truly seems that some of us have lived in two worlds, the one with and the one without. In today's world, the veterinarian is a very important person in the life of a rancher. But when Bill, my husband, first began cowboying, cowboys cared took care of the problems with some old home remedies that had been around for quite a few years. If a horse stepped on a nail, the nail was removed, the hoof was scraped out, and poured full of turpentine. Turpentine seemed to be a must in the saddlebag or on the shelf because it was used for many ailments. If the horse got a colic or a severe stomach ache, turpentine was poured in a fruit jar lid held under the horse's navel, and soon the horse got relief. Mr. Dennis Gibbs, with whom Bill lived, was a cattle buyer. On this day, Mr. Gibbs borrowed a horse, Old Jim, and buggy from his brother Herb to scout the country for cattle. Farmers usually had a few old milk cows that raised a calf while at the same time furnishing the family with plenty of milk and butter. Before leaving, Bill and Mr. Gibbs brushed Old Jim and trimmed his feet. They got a little overzealous and trimmed the feet a little too much. They climbed into the buggy for a day of visiting with neighbors and friends while tending to business. As they returned home late in the afternoon, Old Jim was limping pretty bad. Well, they got out the turpentine and cleaned Old Jim's feet really well and poured them full of this all-purpose medicine. Part of the treatment was to set the hoofs on fire. This seared the hoof, eliminating the pain. However, Old Jim did not understand this procedure. He took off like a turpentine cat, an old saying. I'm sure there's a story there too. Everywhere he put his foot down, he set the pasture on fire. It seems Old Jim won this round, since there was no fire trucks either. So cowboys of today's generation, count your blessings, which includes vets, wonder drugs, and pickup trucks. There are more ways than one to set the pasture on fire, but beware and don't turpentine your horse's feet.
You must have heard Bill tell that story many times. Yes,
This is one of his stories.
that's one of his
And I just put it down in the best way I knew how.
the way you had heard it. Yes.
It'd been quite a sight to see, wouldn't it?
It would have been. Yes.
Old Jim take off and set the pasture on fire.
Oh my goodness. Do you still get out into the community and go to church and do various things?
I go to church. I don't do much.
Are you one of the those who play 42 over at
Yeah, I do that. We went Monday night.
Monday night?
Our partners got back from their visit, and me and Gladys just had a good big time. I thought that possibly a book might become of it, but I'm not too worried about anything anymore. Just whatever. Never was good at spelling, and when I was just a little kid in school, I won prizes for being the best speller because I wanted the prize. But I'm just not a very good speller, or I don't punctuate the best in the world, so she will do all that for me. Put it in good form, and I really do appreciate her. He square danced a lot. See, there's 10 years difference in our ages, and so when he was younger, he went to a lot of square dances where they'd, people would clean out a room and they'd square dance. Well, I wasn't allowed to go because my mother and daddy didn't think that was the right place for me to be. The only time I ever was at one was if I stayed all night with one of my friends and maybe they had a dance at their house. I don't remember that happening but once. And so, no, we didn't do a lot of anything like that because, I went to a few dances we did together after I grew up a little bit. But
You said, though, that when you came back, having eloped and gone off to get married, that your parents accepted Bill. Was that a difficult thing for them, or was it?
Well, they had not ever approved. I kind of snuck off to go with him. Now, I don't tell that part because it's hard for anybody to understand. But if you had a daughter that was going with somebody 10 years older than them, you'd be a little leery. But we found ways and means of seeing each other, and it's made it more interesting.
You said you were the last of the litter, so you had how many brothers and sisters?
Well, I had four brothers, and I had one little brother that died when he was just first year of his. Mama never, she always remembered little Howard. I'd have had 5 brothers if he had lived, and me and my sister, there's just 2 girls. And she was 12 years older than me. So
all the children worked to help support the family, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we made it one way or the other. I don't know. It wasn't easy.
So you said you stayed in West Texas. You don't remember the year you came back.
Well, yeah, we come back to Tulip, where Daddy had a nephew, Charlie Griffin, and they had a big 2-story house and a lot of land and all that. And Daddy went to work, and we had a house bigger than the one we'd ever had. It wasn't that big, but they worked on the 3rd and 4th or whatever you did. And my brother, that's younger, 6 years older than me, he didn't get any schooling much because he had to help in the fields and to make a living. And but none of it ever seemed like I just about happy all my life. I didn't. Things were quite a bit different back then, but I enjoyed when we got back. I feel like now, looking back, that maybe they made it special effort to come back to put me in school because I started school, at Tulip. And I think we had a primer in the 1st grade and all the trimmings, but it was, I don't remember anything. I don't remember any real unhappiness. We just...
Did any of your brothers and sisters get to go to school very much?
No, I think my sister probably went more than any of the rest of them. I don't know about the older ones. They were so much older than me, and Daddy and Mama was in a little better position to send them to school. And but after that depression just really did a whammy.
Yes.
And it just hard not. I mean, we weren't by ourselves. There's just a lot of people.
Did they have any memories of the Dust Bowl days that they would have told you about?
No, I don't remember hearing them tell anything about it. But as young as I wasn't too interested in any of their stories. You know how kids are. I was just busy living my own life. Daddy lived to be 77, and I thought he was an old man. I just thought he was ancient. Daddy just died because he was old. He had a heart attack's what happened. And then Mama lived to be 85.
Did they live in the Tulip area?
Well, by then they'd moved to Elwood, and yeah, they were. I could see them just about every day, or it was really good that we both lived at Elwood. And
I'm eager to read your story about the Harper store because people congregated there and told their own stories, and it was the center of the community.
It was.
And
I'm sure I didn't catch it all and get it all in there, but I think you'll get a chuckle or two and maybe enjoy reading it.
Yes. But I am so grateful to you for agreeing to this extension of our interview. And
Well, I'm happy if it can be of any use to anybody. I